Hey, what's up guys? Rob Richards here, back in the kitchen filming for supplementsworld.com, and on today's video I wanted to take some time away from cooking, away from nutrition, and focus more on the question of what type of protein is best. Whether it's a whey protein, a slow, a fast releasing, or any of the new plant-based proteins that you're seeing popping up all over the place. Well, we're gonna cover exactly that on today's video, but before I do, I wanna give you a little kind of throwback lesson in the humble beginnings of protein. You see, way back in the 40s and 50s, where the early pioneers of bodybuilding were starting to pop up in these magazines, the only place that people could really emulate that was in a home gym. Bodybuilding gyms and the like were still quite a rarity back in the 40s and 50s, so the only way you could really get your iron kick was to order a bench and a set of dumbbells and plates at home. However, the problem with this particular business model was that these were often one-time customers, as these benches and plates would last literally forever. So around this time in the early 50s, more research was starting to come out about the implications of muscle building recovery. Proteins. Typically back then it was the likes of soybean flour, milk, and eggs. Not really great nutrition, but back then it was the best they had. Plus it was something manufacturers could start to package and sell to people who wanted to make quick gains, and they would buy it often. This is where that mentality of if it tasted bad, it was working for you, probably first came, because of the early protein powders were really nothing more than just concoction of eggs, milk, and soybean flour. Now fast forward some 6 or 7 decades to our current year, and we've come a long way in different proteins, their availability, their taste, their texture, and the impact that it can have on your training. So this video is really dedicated to understanding the differences between our milk-based proteins, whey and casein, the different varieties, and more of these plant-based proteins over here, particularly pea protein, brown rice protein, hemp, and soy protein. So let's start off with our milk proteins first. Now there's 3 different types of common whey or protein powders in general, and this is a protein concentrate, which if you think of it as its most raw, kind of unfiltered way of making that. Typically with this method, you've got a lot more of the fat and carbohydrate left in from the milk. And with milk having lactose, a milk sugar that our bodies often find hard to digest, really because when we grow up from being a baby fed by our mother's milk, we lose the ability to process the milk sugars. So many of us, a high population actually, can't digest milk sugars too well. This is where you start to get more digestion problems, ranging from indigestion to bloatedness, even to flatulence. Not what people want. That really comes from the milk sugar. So milk concentrate or protein concentrate is the lowest form that you can get. Now the midsection, you've got protein isolates, a much more purer protein. They've done away with much of the carbohydrates and the fat content. So typically you're left with anywhere up to 80 to 90% concentrate of protein. That's much higher than protein concentrate itself, which is only about 50 to 60% actual protein content. So far, you might be thinking that I'm making a really good case for milk proteins such as whey, and in many ways I am. I mean, they're high in BCAAs, branched chain amino acids. They contain up to about 26% BCAAs compared to under 20, about 18 or 19 for the plant-based proteins. Also with milk proteins, they're easily absorbed. There's a ton of different options out there, and they're readily available pretty much at every supplement store or online retailer. However, there are a few, let's say, downsides to using milk proteins. One of them being that they often have a lot of artificial sweeteners and flavors added into them. Second thing is that you should know that the FDA don't regulate protein powders or really sports supplements in general, which means that a lot of the marketing sometimes doesn't always match up to the actual protein content in the powders. This is less so with the plant-based proteins, which I'll get onto in a second. And finally, if you've ever had a milk-based protein, whey or even casein, and felt perhaps a little bit bloated, it's most likely due to the milk sugars, the lactose present in that protein powder. So far, protein powders from milk source, whey and casein, seem to be pretty good. Whey, especially if it's an isolate or a hydrolyzed whey, offers a high level of BCAAs, it's easily absorbed, and it's a complete protein. The final 2 points that I'd like to make about protein before then looking and comparing the plant-based alternatives is the difference between whey and casein. Now both come from milk. Whey is a fast absorbing protein. Casein is a much slower one. This actually forms more like a gel substance in the gut, and it can take anywhere from 5 to 7 hours to really get all of those amino acids into the bloodstream and into the muscles, which makes casein a really great source for nighttime protein before bed, or at times when you're traveling and you really can't get food into your system, and a protein shake, particularly casein, will give you that steady stream that you need. So typically whey, fast acting post-workout, casein, nighttime, or when you know you're not going to be able to eat for several hours. Now, what about plant-based proteins? Well, these have actually been around for a while, but in recent years, they started to get a lot more recognition towards the benefits, especially post-workout and weight training. A lot of bodybuilders in particular aren't crazy about plant-based proteins because they don't contain all of the essential amino acids, the muscle building proteins that whey and casein might do. However, vegans have been onto something for a while, and that is protein combining. By often combining their beans with their brown rice, they're getting a full spectrum of those amino acids, the essential amino acids that our body can't manufacture. We need to get them from our dietary food sources or supplementation. But if we take rice protein, brown rice protein, which actually has almost the same protein content per serving as whey, and combine that with our pea protein, which is also great tasting and easily absorbable, we combine the two, we're pretty much matched with our whey protein. The final thing about combining these two is that you really do get a natural earthy taste. Again, it's not for everyone. These are just options that you can look at and start to understand the real benefits of using both. I've recently been combining pea protein and brown rice protein just because I didn't like that bloated feeling of taking whey, especially up to 40 grams post-workout. So brown rice protein, pea proteins, a few other. We have hemp protein, which is higher in antioxidants, got a lot of essential fatty acids. Hemp protein is lower on the BV value than all of these. However, it does make a great protein addition if you're making smoothies or maybe a protein shake midday where you're just not feeling hungry enough to have a full-size meal. And then soy protein. This has been around for decades now. Not ideal for those in the gym, especially men, because it can often shut off and decrease testosterone production and turn on more of the estrogen. However, especially for females, it can be a great high quality protein that gives you all of those essential amino acids. Okay then, to summarize and wrap up the end of our protein video, we have our milk-based proteins over here, in particular our whey and our casein. And I'd say look out for isolate or a hydrolyzed protein, in particular ones that have grass-fed origins. Then we have our plant-based proteins over here. Great combination of brown rice protein with our pea protein. And as I mentioned in a previous video, to really optimize your post-workout protein content, you should be looking at about 40 grams of protein plus anywhere from 40 to 80 grams of simple fast-acting carbohydrates. You can see one of my other videos to find out more about that. Okay guys, as always, find out more about this particular video and all of these ingredients on a full-blown article, supplementsworld.com. If you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel. Like it, leave a comment. We'll try and take on some more of your suggestions on next month's video, and keep an eye out for more of our recipes and also my training videos on our social media. I'm Rob Riches. Thank you for watching again. I'll see you guys back here real soon, and take this into consideration. Milk protein or plant-based protein, the option is really up for you. Let me know, leave a comment, tell me what you think. See you guys soon. Take care.